hidden violent intentions that must be subsided. When we look at the word self awareness, we notice a self and we notice a space for that self. The objective life is being conducted from a viewpoint that is observing the objective and the subjective. The motivation of action is dualistically, it's going through a dualistic lens. So therefore we have the hidden and unhidden. There is the real self and then there's the artificial self, the egoic construct. In life, there are times that tensions can build up. And when I say hidden violent intentions must be subsided, this is not personal to people. Like let me tell you, what I mean is that this life can potentially rub off enough tension and pressure on the person that due to the comfort of a certain inner realm, they may become reckless and careless with their outer realm. Violence is very interesting. It is kind of like a toy in the hand of a young child. When the child has its toy, it doesn't cry. When the child doesn't have when the child has its toy, it doesn't cry. When it doesn't have its toy, it cries. And I feel when people have their toy, when their inner realms are satisfied, they have no reason to exert external energy. But when their inner realms are unsatisfied, they are pulled. They become defined by how they're a gear in a machine rather than actually the liberators of their own experience. So what that means is we have to consider that. I remember, I'll tell you this crazy story. I was at a house party. This was a while back, like a couple months ago. And way more than a couple months ago, maybe like 6 months ago. And in that house party, I mean, everybody had drank and there was other uh, types of air in the room. But eventually, at some point, to be honest, I was there going to talk to an actor, but the actor was there, so I joined the house party. There was a person who seemed to be who was the most friendliest person there. Then like the conversation began becoming away from, like you see most people, most conversations when they focus on the person, when they are personalized, the person's inner realms fight back. If you keep it not personal, that means you're speaking about the abstract. So what that means is it's like something that the whole political correctness movement doesn't realize is that language is abstract. Your identification with the language is where the pain comes, the pain of legacy and whatnot, you know. So in other words, I've noticed that a human being, as they go live through the day and through their lifetime, you know, in all your moments of existence, the person is kind of like there's a snowball effect of like it was kind of intense, guys. You know how, for example, a person thinks of success and failure, and a person looks at, for example, success and sees these motivational videos on YouTube, just people in the gym shouting, and it's like work hard motivation. I'm like, really? It's like, can we have a sort of motivation that there is no metal in it? let me tell you, the inner realms don't want to change. The outer realms have to. And if the person doesn't become conscious of this pattern, they can't exert control over their life. And so I can say that sometimes when I've looked at violence, it's like you're like, is that person violent, or is the circumstances or their inner circumstances violent? You know? I have been in physical fights when I was when I was in how can I say it? Like when I was in middle school for a couple of years in Iran, that school was Fight Club in a weird way. It was and and it's just that I don't know. The point I'm trying to make is that there isn't violence that arises because the ecosystem doesn't see the inner self, and the person can get offended. And oh, I remember what I was saying. The person I met in the story was cheerful. That in the house party, that guy ended up being a very twisted person. And we all kind of realized it in the house party because it was as if he was being very kind, but then when I asked him about how he sees the world and all that, it was as if like he suddenly had this hatred open up. It's weird. I've had another incident where this was before 2014, you know, and I remember I had headphones on. I run to this bus stop, right, and I am so in my own headspace, with a sort of kind of ego, you can say. I'm just so occupied with myself in that moment that this person comes and says something, and I'm like, I can't. I gotta get tickets for the bus, and the bus leaves, and that guy wanted to give me a ticket for the bus. Do you see that? Do you see that kind of experience? That thing I experienced in 2000. It was definitely before I went to the UK. You know, and I'm telling you, it was a city. So check this out. I take off my headphones after buying the ticket myself, and then yeah, I listen to the guy, and the guy's like, I had a free ticket. And then, you know, I don't know what it was. I don't know if at that point I was, what did I say to the guy? I said something to this guy, and he was dressed in white. And I said something to him, and then he suddenly became very violent. Do you know? Oh no, I asked them, why are you helping people? There we go. I asked them, why are you helping people? And when I said help, this guy got offended. And it was like this very, very strange situation where I don't know how to tell you. Imagine like in in the front view, it's like you look at your car from one side, oh, it looks good. You look at it from the other side, oh my God, what are these dents? Right? Yeah. I don't know what it is. I think that we are living many lives, and the external realm accepts a certain range of our archetypes, and we as human beings have all this other wonder behind our eyes. So, what I mean by that is like, for how many eons is imagination going to be a mystery? You know? What is it about the intelligence of the human being that projects itself before being that? That's the thing. We have access to observance. That's the thing, guys. That's the clue. That's the divine clue. That as we witness objective phenomena, before we make a decision, there's also access to subjective phenomena. In my life, don't think I've been a perfect person, you know. I can sometimes notice things perfectly, but in my life, I could tell you every person's life has many colors in it because the human being goes through many experiences. The human being is being sculpted by their experiences. So some of these violent intentions could be just stuff that the person feels they can't change, but they should, in some sense, they can resculpt. Think of it this way: if your next experience is going to program your character, then it makes sense to pay attention to the front view of the vehicle, front window of the vehicle. There's something about savageness that is provoked as a defense mechanism for the inner realms, for the inner self. It's kind of like the same savageness you see when someone has lied and you catch the lie, and then once you catch that lie, you see what would, like, that person suddenly they fear their inner realms are vulnerable. So then they, in some sense, continue projecting attention the way. For me, the thing was I had dwelled too much in language, do you know? So I am on some sense kind of realizing the value of direct experience compared to, in some sense, indirect subjective experience or observation. That means just because a person, for example, studies rocket science doesn't mean they've seen a rocket up close, you know? That's the experience component of it. And many things that stick with the person. I realize this about knowledge. Knowledge, there are various kinds of mindsets are entering to kind of succeed in the same game. Do you know? So the game, after a while, defines the uniqueness of the character of the person. Because you got to think about it this way. Right now, whoever you are listening to this, if they took you into a totally different environment and totally different like lifestyle, you will be influenced. How long do you think your character can endure? You know, we saw it in the movie Castaway, where the guy was thrown on an island. For how long can you endure until the mind begins to simulate? The mind is like waiting for a real human being. And in like the movie Castaway, when it couldn't find it, it began seeing in round objects which resemble heads, faces. You see what I mean? That means the mind and the body are in a symbiosis. We are living in two ways. We are alive in two ways, but living in what appears to be one space-time continuum. There's a quote by Sogyal Rinpoche. He says, unless you conquer your anger, enemies will be inexhaustible. Your enemies will be inexhaustible. And guys, I am telling you, there's a strange karma that finds stubbornness, and uh, not knowing when to stop. These two kind of actions lead to weird karmic turbulence. And it's because the person requires to open their attention beyond the language threshold to how the world is here. Do you know? Like we gotta realize, like it's like every human DNA is a unique paintbrush. Now these paintbrushes are not in the most efficient system. That means the world is not right now valuing every person's individuality, and a symptom of this is when you see the youth idolizing. When you see groups of people, you see pretty much this is where your attention can go. Your attention can go on the world, your attention can go on what's in the world other than yourself, or your attention can go on yourself, or your attention can just be. You see, these are the options. And I feel the attention to the self is the most crucial thing because it means that on some micro level, it's like you could be failing in a micro level but succeeding in a macro, you know? It's kind of like when the sun comes up in one part of the world, it's dark in another. Do you see the simultaneity of it? You know, I feel space holds within it intelligent currents. And I feel once we really get to a state of mind where it's like, think of it this way. Right now, if you ask the human being what is real, it will only tell you awareness. That means when you look at reality, the light is entering your eyes, then there's the neurochemistry, and then there's projection, correct? That's how the mainstream, that's how we're seeing it. We're seeing pretty much we're made of particles. These particles are moving in a unique way. When they move in a unique way, it leads to a unique characteristic. This would also mean that memory is more of a mystery than we thought. We interpreted linearly. You know, an interesting way of speaking about it is that the mind, in accordance to every memory or intense visualization or activity, and in some sense is rooted in different rooms. That means when I wonder right now as I'm speaking to you, I can notice it totally. That when a person speaks, the experience of every word, every image, and the sound and all of this, there's a novelty to it. There is something that it's as if we on in one view, yeah, it's simulated. In another view, it's like, yo, who can simulate it? You know, so it moves beyond a sort of it's as if the evolution of the attention of the human being through it's when objectivity becomes a mirror of your mind, and your mind becomes a mirror of your soul, and your soul has no mirror. So what does that mean? That means, believe it or not, after some like if somebody said, I don't want to be rude, but like just playfully saying this, if somebody wanted to sum up what all the yogis and mystics and all these enlightened gurus have been saying as advice for enlightenment, you know what it is? Excuse my language, but it's to shut up, you know? And let me tell you what I mean by that. You know, I'm just saying that in a certain context. What I mean by that is that they noticed there was a level of noise. There was something causing a blurriness of our perception of our reality that was self-generated. So what I meant by that was not in a derogatory sense, but in a sense where as if the being is shut down, and then what other choice? So I'm saying that, you see, we can become playful with language if we don't instantly connect experience to it. You know, there is something about observance that gives the freedom for the movement. I mean, like when you look at the heart, it's beating before you think about it. But when you look at the faculty of like speech or just the phenomena of speaking, it's like, why isn't it happening like the heart? Why isn't it happening like the heart? Why does the person have to think about a certain range of their physical activities, but certain range of their physical existence they don't even think about? How many people think about inside their skin, behind their skin? No, they think about it in front of it, and that's why the kind of product industry, you know, like. So what I'm saying is I didn't get to finish that sentence, but I'm just saying, like, you see, some things we don't question, but we're so instantaneously being, so we don't doubt. But some things that we generate which echo, so one can say cause and effect is the illusion of the personality. The witness of cause and effect is the attributeless presence. So you know what it means? It's like suddenly realizing, what if there's a giant black hole at the center of the universe? And this giant black hole, as this has been suggested by some, that it's like this giant black hole means that it's like a donut. The truth is like a donut, you know? It's like the center of it is hollow, but that hollowness is there containing something. So you can say the mystical experience is like from inside of a balloon, realizing the air inside is inseparable from the air outside.